I dare say.
That's right. Can you tell me where I can find her?
She'll be over at the graveyard, I don't doubt. Usually is, this time of a fine morning. The cemetery on the Hingston Road. Can't miss it.
Mrs. Goddard, may I join you?
It's a nice stone, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I married Albert Goddard when I was 53, but I miss him as if we were childhood sweethearts.
I was admiring the lettering.
Cut deep, that is. Cost a mint, but it's worth it. That'll last, you see. Half the lettering here won't. It's that shallow. Takes the pleasure out of a cemetery. I like to know who people were and when they died, and how long the women lived after they buried their menfolk. Of course, this stone looks a bit top-heavy at present. That's because I asked them to leave space for me. Also to Annie, his wife, who departed this life, and then the date. That'll even it up nicely. I've left the money to pay for it.
What text were you thinking of having?
Oh, no text. At rest will be good enough for both of us. We shan't be asking more of the good Lord than that.
That cross of roses you sent to Mark Callender's funeral was beautiful.
Oh, did you see it? You weren't at the funeral, were you? Yes, I was pleased with it. They made a nice job of it, I thought. Poor boy, hadn't much else, had he? So you knew Mr. Mark. Would you be his young lady, perhaps?
No, not that. But I care about him. It's odd he never talked about his old nanny.
Oh, but I wasn't his nanny, my dear. Or at least only for a month or two. No, I was nanny to his dear mother.
But you visited Mark on his 21st birthday.
Oh, so he told you that, did he? Oh, I was glad to see him again after all those years. But I wouldn't have pushed myself on him. It wouldn't have been right, his father feeling as he did. No, I went to give him something from his mother. Something she'd asked me to do when she was dying. Do you know, I hadn't seen Mr. Mark for over 20 years, but I knew him at once. He had a great look of his mother about him, poor boy.
Could you tell me about it? It's not just curiosity, it's important for me to know.
Important, is it? Well, I don't know why it should be. It's all in the past now. She's dead, poor lady, and so is he. All that hope and promise come to naught. I haven't spoken to anyone else about it, but then who would care to know?
Tell me about Mark's mother.
She was a Miss Botley, Evelyn Botley. I was an under-nursemaid in the household before she was born. There was only little Harry then. He was killed in the war on his first raid over Germany. His dad took it very hard. There was never anyone to match Harry. Oh, poor Miss Evie. The master, he never really cared for her. The mistress died when she was born, and that may have made a difference. People say it does, but I've never believed it. If you ask me, it was just an excuse for not taking to the child to say she killed her mother.
Yes, I know a father who made it an excuse too. But it isn't their fault. We can't make ourselves love someone just because we want to.
More's the pity, my dear, or the world would be an easier place. But his own child, it's not natural.
Did she love him?
Well, how could she? You won't get love from a child if you don't give love.
What happened to her? How did she meet Sir Ronald Callender?
Oh, he wasn't Sir Ronald then, my dear. Oh, dear, no. He was Ronnie Callender, the gardener's son. They lived at Harrogate, you see. Oh, such a lovely house they had. When I first went into service there, they had 3 gardeners. I remember Ronnie Callender well. A good-looking lad, but he kept his thoughts to himself. He was clever, that one. Got a scholarship to the grammar school and did very well.
And Evelyn Botley fell in love?
Well, she may have done, my dear. What there was between them, who can tell? Then the war came and he went away. They met again in London, as people did in the war, and the next thing we knew, they were married.
And came to live here, outside Cambridge?
Oh, not till after the war, when he went up to the university. He got a grant because he was ex-service. She had some money from her father, and they bought the house he lives in now. Of course, he's done a lot to it since. Her father used to come and stay from time to time. She used to dread his visits, poor darling. He was looking for a grandchild, you see, and one didn't come. And then Mr. Callender finished at the university and got a job teaching. He wanted to stay on at the college and be a don or something like that, but they wouldn't have him. He used to say it was because he had no influence, but I reckon it was because he wasn't clever enough.
And then Mark was born?
Yes, on the 25th of April, 1951, 9 years after they were married. He was born in Italy. Mr. Botley was that pleased when she became pregnant he increased their allowance. And then they spent a lot of time in Italy. Oh, my lady loved Italy, always had. And I think she wanted the child to be born there. That's why she went out there in the last month of her pregnancy. I went to visit her about a month after she came home with the baby, and I've never seen a woman so happy. Oh, he was a lovely little boy.
But why did you visit her? Weren't you living and working there?
No, my dear, not for some months. She wasn't at all well in the early days of her pregnancy. So strained and unhappy you'd never believe. And then one day Mr. Callender sends for me and tells me she's taken against me and that I'll have to leave. Well, I wouldn't have believed it. But when I went to her, she just puts out her hand and says, "I'm sorry, Nanny. I think it would be better if you went."
Did you take it badly?
Oh, I've lived long enough to know pregnant women have strange fancies. I thought she'd asked me to come back afterwards, and so she did, but not living in. I took a bed-sit in the village. It worked very well, really. I gave 4 mornings a week to my lady, and the rest to other ladies in the village. I didn't see her often during her pregnancy, but we did meet once in Cambridge. She was very heavy, poor dear, dragging herself along. At first she pretended she hadn't noticed me, and then she thought better of it and came across the road. "We're off to Italy next week, Nanny," she says. "Isn't it lovely?" I said, "If you're not careful, my dear, that baby will be a little Italian." Oh, and she laughed. It seemed as though she couldn't wait to get back to the sun.
And what happened after she came home?
Dead before the year was out, my dear. She was never very strong and she caught flu. I helped look after her, and I'd have done more, but Mr. Callender took over the nursing himself. He couldn't bear anyone else to be near her. We had only a few minutes together just before she died, and it was then she asked me to give her prayer book to Mark on his 21st birthday. "Wrap it up carefully and take it to him when he comes of age. You won't forget, will you?" Oh, I can hear her now. "Oh, I'll not forget, my darling," I said. "You know that." And then she said a strange thing. "If you do, or if you die before then, or if he doesn't understand, it won't really matter. It'll mean that God wants it that way."
Yes, that is strange. And what happened when you gave it to Mark?
Oh, we chatted. He was full of questions about his mother, things I'd have thought his father would have told him. Then a few days later he came to see me and asked the name of the doctor who'd treated his mother. Well, I told him it was old Dr. Gladwin. They'd always used him. I think it's a pity. He was 70 then and never really reliable. Drink, you know. But I expect he's gone to his rest long since, poor man. Anyway, I told Mr. Mark the name and he wrote it down. Then we had tea and a little chat and he left. I never saw him again.
And no one else knows about the prayer book?
Oh, no one in the world, my dear. Miss Leeming saw the florist's name on the card and asked them for my address. She came here the day after the funeral to thank me for attending, but I could see it was only curiosity. Of course, I didn't say anything. I never liked her, truth to tell. I'm not saying there was anything between her and Mr. Ronald. Not while Miss Evie was alive, anyway. She lived in a flat in Cambridge and kept herself to herself. She was teaching English at a local school.
Miss Leeming has a degree in English?
Oh, yes. She wasn't trained as a secretary. She gave up teaching when she started working for Mr. Callender. Of course, it wasn't until after Miss Evie died and he got the money that he set up his own laboratory.
So you didn't stay on to care for the baby?
No, I wasn't wanted. His father made it plain he didn't like me to see the child, and after all, a father has his rights. But now Mark's killed himself and we've all lost him.
Yes, but as to killing himself, I don't think he did. I don't remember much of my journey back to the cottage. I drove fast, concentrating on the road ahead, trying to control my rising excitement. The cottage looked and smelt just as I'd left it. I'd almost expected to find it ransacked, and the white leather-bound book of Common Prayer on the window shelf gone. But I saw that the white spine was still there among the taller and darker covers. I opened it, hardly knowing what I expected to find. But there was nothing. The only inscription, to Evelyn Botley from her godmother in 1936, could have no possible relevance. Disappointed, I put the book into my bag and drove into Cambridge. Once there, a few minutes' research in the public library soon restored my spirits. A long shot had paid off. Still on the medical register, though now well over 90, was a Dr. Gladwin of Bury St. Edmunds.
Of course he's in. Where else would he be? He's in here. You better come through. This way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There he is. See what you make of him.
Dr. Gladwin? Dr. Gladwin, I wanted to talk to you about a patient. It was a long time ago. Mrs. Callender. Do you remember Mrs. Callender of Garforth House?
Go on, ask him. It's all in his head, you know. That's what he used to tell me. I'm not one for records and notes. It's all in my head. Fat lot of use his head is to him now.
What happened to his medical records when he gave up his practice? Did anyone take them over?
That's what I just told you. There never were any records to speak of. And it's no use asking me. I was only good enough to be his nurse, before and after he married me. Still am. He never confided in me. I told the boy that too.
The boy?
Mark Callender. He came here asking about his mother. Then about 10 days later we get the other one calling.
What other one?
Walked in as if he owned the place. Wouldn't give a name, but I've seen his face somewhere. He comes in, marches up to the doctor and says, "Good afternoon, Gladwin," as if he's talking to a servant. I ask you. Then he bends down and looks at him. Eye to eye they were. Then up he stands, says good day and leaves. Oh, we're getting very popular, we are. Any more of you and I'll be charging for the show. That boy who came here, he said he'd sit with the doctor on a Sunday if I wanted a break. Tell him to come over if he wants to.
He would have come, I know, but I'm afraid he can't. He's dead. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what made me decide to stop at Bury on the way back and walk for 10 minutes in the Abbey gardens. But the glimpse of grass and flowers through the great Norman doorway was irresistible. I strolled down to the riverbank and sat down in the sun. After a moment I took the Book of Common Prayer from my bag. Suppose I were Evelyn Callender and wanted to leave a message which Mark would find and others might miss. Suddenly the answer seemed childishly simple. Surely someone on the page would collect Gospel and Epistle for St. Mark's Day. He'd been born on the 25th of April. He'd been named after the saint. Quickly I flicked through to the page. And there I found what I was looking for. A small pattern of hieroglyphics so faint that the mark on the paper was little more than a smudge. It was a group of letters and figures. EMC, and underneath AA, and beneath that 14-1-52. The first 3 letters were, of course, his mother's initials. The numbers were the date on which she had carefully pricked out the message. But the double A! For a moment or two my mind chased associations with motoring and alcoholics. But then, thinking about Mark and the letters of the alphabet, I suddenly remembered the card I'd found in Mark's wallet. The blood donor card which recorded his group. He had been B. The double A must signify that Evelyn Callender had been group AA. And there was only one reason why she would have wanted Mark to have that information.
I'm afraid you've got the wrong practice. It's Dr. Venables who looks after Sir Ronald Callender's household.
I'm ringing for Miss Leeming from Garforth House. I'm sorry to trouble you, but could you please remind me of Sir Ronald Callender's blood group? He's going to East Africa next month.
Just a minute, please. Callender. Incidentally, I should make a careful note of it if I were you. His son had to ring a month or so ago with the same inquiry. Callender. Sir Ronald is Group A.
I did not need to verify what I already knew. A man and a woman whose blood groups are A cannot produce a B group child. I went to bed that night restless with excitement, but too mentally exhausted to tease out the tangle of conjecture at the back of my mind. I had no theory to explain the mystery of Mark's birth, Isabel's terror, Hugo and Sophie's secret knowledge, Miss Markland's obsessive interest in the cottage, the oddities and uncertainties which surrounded Mark's death. After a while, though, I relaxed and eventually fell asleep. Suddenly I was awake, eyes wide open in the half-darkness. Someone was outside the cottage. I wriggled out of my sleeping bag and stole to the window. Almost hidden by the high hedge was Isabel de Lastory's Renault, and coming slowly up the path with Isabel was Hugo Tilling. I crept downstairs, silently unlocked the back door, and hardly daring to breathe, waited in the shadows at the foot of the stairs.
Just a minute. I'll strike a match.
Isabel, stop! It's only me, Cordelia.
Oh, shut up, you stupid bitch. It's only Cordelia.
I'm sorry.
What the hell did you do that for? What are you doing here anyway, lurking in the shadows?
I could ask you that.
But we came to collect the Antonello that Isabel lent Mark when she came to supper here. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to cure her of her morbid obsession with the place. We've been to the Pit Club ball. It seemed a good idea to call here on our way home. Obviously, it was a bloody stupid idea. Is there any drink in the place?
I can make some coffee. Come on, Isabel. You'll soon feel better. I'll light the lamp.
Oh, thank you.
Hugo, you said Isabel's morbidly obsessed with this place. Why is she?
Isabel's very sensitive. She isn't tough like you.
Rubbish. According to you, she's only been here once before. No. There's something both of you know. And it would be better if you tell me now. If you don't, I'll simply report back to Sir Ronald that you're all somehow concerned in his son's death. I can't see Isabel standing up to even the mildest police questioning, can you?
Can't you take my word that Mark died by his own hand, and that if you do call in the police it'll cause unhappiness and distress to his father and his friends, and be absolutely no help to anyone?
No, Hugo, I can't.
Then, if I do tell you what we know, will you promise that it won't go any further?
How can I? Any more than I can promise to believe you.
Oh, tell her, Hugo. What does it matter?
I think you must. I don't think you've any choice.
So it seems. All right. I told you that the four of us, Sophie, Isabel, Davy and I, went to the Arts Theatre on the night Mark died. That, as you probably guessed, was only 3/4 true. There were only 3 tickets when I booked, and as Isabel is bored stiff by any show with a cast of less than 50, she was obviously the one to be left out. So, neglected by her current lover, she reasonably decided to seek consolation with the next.
Mark was not my lover, Hugo.
Oh, I know. Mark was a romantic. He never took a girl to bed, or anywhere else that I could see, until he judged that there was an adequate degree of interpersonal communication, or whatever jargon he used, between them. I gather that with Isabel the relationship hadn't reached the necessary depths. It was only a matter of time, of course. Where Isabel was concerned, Mark was as capable of self-deception as the rest of us.
Mark never made love to me, Hugo.
That's what I'm saying.
But what happened that night?
Isabel drove here and arrived shortly after 7:30. The door was open, and she came in. Mark was already dead. His body was hanging by the strap from that hook. But he didn't look as he did when Miss Markland found him next morning. Oh, you tell her. Isabel, darling, there are some things that all Papa's money can't shield you from, and this is one. Go on.
I thought I'd call to see Mark, and perhaps we would have supper together. So I came to the back door and pushed it open. I did not knock because I thought it would be a surprise for Mark.
And then?
And then I saw him. He was hanging there by the belt from the hook in the ceiling, and I knew he was dead. Cordelia, it was horrible. He was dressed like a woman.
Like a woman?
In a black bra and panties, nothing else. And his face, he had painted his lips all over his lips, Cordelia, like a clown. It was terrible, but it was funny, too. I wanted to scream and I wanted to laugh all at the same time. He did not look like Mark. He did not look human at all. And on the table there were 3 pictures. Not nice pictures, Cordelia. Pictures of naked women.
Oh, don't look like that, Cordelia. It does happen, you know. Actually, it's quite an innocuous sexual deviation. He wasn't involving anyone but himself, and he didn't mean to kill himself. That was just bad luck. I imagine the buckle of the belt slipped, and he didn't have a chance.
I don't believe it.
I thought you mightn't, but it's true, Cordelia. Why not come with us now and ring Sophie? She'll confirm it.
I don't mean that. I mean, I still don't believe Mark killed himself. Isabel, you said the door was open. Did you notice the key?
It was in this side of the door. I saw it when I went out.
What about the curtains?
They were like now, across the window.
And where was the lipstick?
What lipstick, Cordelia?
The lipstick used to paint Mark's lips. It wasn't in the pockets of his jeans, or the police would have found it, and they didn't. So where was it? Did you see it on the table?
Oh, there was nothing on the table except the pictures.
What colour was the lipstick?
Purple. An old lady's colour. No one would choose such a colour, I think.
And the underclothes, what were they like?
Nothing special. They were from M&S.
Did you touch anything? Mark's body, perhaps, to see if he was dead?
I couldn't touch him. I touched nothing. And I knew he was dead.
A respectable, sensible, law-abiding citizen would have found the nearest telephone and rung the police. Luckily, Isabel is none of these things. Her instinct was to come to me. She drove to the theatre and met us as we came out. The 3 of us drove straight back here. Oh, we stopped off briefly to collect Davy's camera and flash.
Why?
Well, that was my idea. Obviously, we had no intention of letting the Fuzz and Ronald Callender know how Mark had died. We planned to clean him up and dress him in his own clothes. But I thought we'd better have a record of how we found him. We didn't know what law we'd be breaking, but I reckoned there must be one. And we didn't want to risk a murder charge. However, in the event, our good intentions were frustrated. Someone else had got here first.
Tell me about it.
There's nothing to tell. Davy and I told the girls to wait in the car. Isabel was too frightened to be left alone, and it seemed only fair to Mark to prevent Sophie from seeing him. Odd, this concern for the susceptibilities of the dead.
Perhaps it's only when people are dead that we can safely show how much we cared for them.
Oh, when we got here, there was nothing for us to do. We found Mark's body and this room just as Miss Markland described them at the inquest. Mark was naked except for his jeans. No magazine pictures on the table, no lipstick on his face. But there was a suicide note in the typewriter and a mound of ash in the grate. Oh, he didn't hang around. Someone else might have turned up at any minute. Mark must have had more visitors that night than during the whole of his time at the cottage.
Look, someone played a stupid trick on me last night. When I got back here from the party, there was a bolster slung from that hook. Did you do that?
Of course not. Why on earth should I? In any case, I didn't even know you were living here. The most likely person is whoever came here before us.
I know. Someone took a risk for Mark. He or she won't want me ferreting around. But they'd have got rid of me a lot more easily by telling me the truth. As it is, I'm finding it all out for myself.
I, George Albert Botley of Stonegate Lodge, Harrogate, being of sound mind, hereby direct that on my death all my possessions shall be sold, since I wish to prevent the usual unseemly wrangling over bric-a-brac. I bequeath the sum of £500 to each of the servants in my employ at the time of my death. Of the residue of my estate, I bequeath one half absolutely to my daughter, Evelyn, now that she has demonstrated that she has at least one of the normal attributes of a woman. The remaining half, valued today at approximately £400,000, but it is to be hoped to be much enlarged by judicious investment, I bequeath to my beloved grandson, Mark Callender, to be his absolutely on his attaining his 25th birthday. In the interim, I direct that the bequest be placed in trust on his behalf. Details of the trust and trustees are appended. Signed this 26th day of July 1951. George Albert Botley.
I had set aside a couple of hours for searching out the Botley will in Somerset House, but the process took longer than I expected. I managed to catch the 1816 from Liverpool Street, but it was nearly 8 o'clock before I arrived back at the cottage. I felt in my shoulder bag for the key, and bending down, fitted it into the lock. The attack caught me completely by surprise. A blanket fell over me, and then there was a cord around my neck, pulling the hot, stifling wool taut against my mouth and nostrils. As I gasped for breath, a sharp pain exploded in my chest, and I passed out. The moment of liberation was a miracle and a horror. Suddenly the blanket was whipped off. There was a second of sweet, reviving air, a glimpse of sky, and then I felt myself falling in helpless astonishment into cold darkness. Then my body hit the water. Ice-cold hands dragged me into a vortex of horror. I struggled to the surface through what seems an eternity of cold, encompassing blackness. I looked up. The dark tunnel that stretched above me ended in a moon of blue light. Even as I looked, the well lid was dragged slowly across like the shutter of a camera, blotting out the light. Desperately I trod water, reaching for the bottom. There was no bottom. Frantically, moving hands and feet, willing myself not to panic, I felt round for a possible foothold. There was none. The funnel of bricks, smooth and sweating with moisture, stretched around and above me like a circular tomb. And then I felt a saving anger. I wouldn't let myself drown, wouldn't die in this horrible place, alone and terrified. The well was deep but small, the diameter barely 4 feet. If I kept my head and took time, I could brace my legs and shoulders against the bricks and work my way upwards. Slowly I began, first shifting my feet one after the other in tiny sliding steps, and then humping up my body inch by painful inch. Once my legs slipped, and I slithered back several yards before I found a purchase. Once I was gripped by cramp and lay stretched as if on a rack until the agony passed and my muscles could move. It seemed as if I climbed for hours, my strength fading the higher I reached. And then, when I knew that without help I could get no further, help appeared. A few feet above my head I saw, dim in the fading light, the bottom rung of a short ladder fixed to the last few feet of the well. I lifted my hands towards it, knowing even as I did so that it was out of reach. It was then I remembered the strap that had squeezed Mark's life out of his body, that Sergeant Maskell had let me keep, and that I had been using ever since as a belt, wound twice around my waist, comforting and reassuring as a talisman. Carefully I threw the buckle end over the bottom rung of the ladder and did up the strap. I have no clear memory of the last half hour of the climb, but finally I reached the top of the ladder and strapped myself firmly to the uprights. For a moment I relaxed. I was safe. Sooner or later someone would come and rescue me. Miss Markland knew I was at the cottage. Miss Markland would come. And then the final horror burst upon me. There would be no rescue. Someone would indeed come to the well, come stealthily under cover of darkness, but it would be my murderer. He had to return. It was part of his plan. He would come back that night and remove the well cover again. No one would ever be able to prove that my death wasn't an accident. There was nothing I could do but wait, until I heard his footsteps and the lid drawn slowly back to reveal his face. I would not plead for mercy from the man who had murdered Mark. I knew there would be no mercy.
Cordelia! Cordelia, it's me!
Miss Markland, thank God!
There, drink that. How are you feeling now?
Much better, thank you.
But how did it happen? You must tell me.
I don't know, I can't remember anything. I must have decided to explore the well and lost my balance.
But the lid was in place.
I know, someone must have replaced it.
But why? Who would have come this way?
I don't know, but someone must have. Someone must have dragged it back. Miss Markland, you saved my life.
Oh.
How did you notice what had happened?
I came to the cottage to see if you were still here. I came earlier today, but there was no sign of you. I come here often, you know. I always look at the well.
You saved my life. But please, do go now. Please. I'm all right. Really, I am.
But you aren't fit to be left alone. And whoever replaced the lid might come back.
I'm perfectly safe. Besides, I have a gun. I only want to be left in peace. Please don't worry about me.
I don't like strangers snooping about the cottage. Oh, I don't mean you, Cordelia, you're different. But the cottage is very special to me. You don't know why, do you? You don't know why I come to the cottage day after day, why I stand for hours by that well. I'll tell you.
No, not if...
I must. I want to. That well. It killed my baby.
Oh, no.
My little boy. My Peter. 4 years old. He fell to his death.
My dear...
This cottage was our place, Pete's and mine. We couldn't marry. He was already married, and she wouldn't divorce him, so this is where we came. This is where we conceived our child. Here, in this very room.
Miss Markland, please...
Of course I had the baby. It was my chance to get something out of life, to make up for all those unrealized hopes, lost opportunities. I had the baby and I brought him up on my own. No easy matter in those days. For 4 years, he was the centre of my world. We lived over at the house, but I never brought little Peter here, never, never, never. But that day, that horrible day, he somehow managed to get through the hedge. God knows how he climbed onto the rim of the well. But he did. And then, think of those last terrible minutes. Think of his crying out for his mummy. The cold, suffocating water dragging him to his death. That well robbed me of a precious and irreplaceable life. Tonight, I claimed a life back from the well. A life. For a life.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You've saved my life, and I'm grateful, but I can't bear to listen. I don't want you here. For God's sake, go! I collected Bernie's gun and loaded it. Then I went outside to wait, deep in the shelter of an elder bush. The slow minutes passed. Finally, I heard the sound of an engine, and someone stopped a car further up the road. A few seconds later, the sound of feet moving round the cottage was unmistakable. And now he was in sight, a stocky, broad-shouldered figure black against the light. When he got to the rim of the well, he waited, and the moon struck the whites of his eyes as he gazed slowly round. He bent down to the rope lying on the grass and threaded one end through the iron hoop of the well cover. I moved forward, the gun held firm and straight as Bernie had taught me. Good evening, Mr. Lunn. It is Chris Lunn, isn't it?
You! No!
Stop! I've got a gun! I warn you, I'll fire! But I didn't. As he fled up the road towards his van, I made for my car. He had the advantage. He'd left his engine running. I threw myself into the driving seat, reversed violently into the road, slammed my foot on the accelerator and gave pursuit. The rear lights of the van were just 100 yards ahead of me as we approached the Cambridge junction. I was gaining on him. He swerved round the corner. For a few moments he was out of sight. That's when it happened.
Miss Gray, what's happened? You look terrible. Come in.
Thank you.
What on earth are you doing with that gun?
Oh, I didn't realise. I had it with me in the car.
Well, let me take that. There's no one here you need to fend yourself against. Tell me what's happened.
No, I've come to report to Sir Ronald. Where is he?
Where he was the last time you came here, in his study. This way. It's Gray to see you, Ronald.
Miss Gray? Take a seat. What's the time?
10:30.
A quarter of an hour ago I learned that Chris Lunn's been killed in a car crash. You know, I took him out of an orphanage 15 years ago. He never knew his parents. An ugly boy, difficult, already on probation. But he was one of the best natural scientists I've ever known. If he'd had the education, he'd have been as good as I am.
Then why didn't you give him his chance? Why didn't you educate him?
Because he was more useful to me as a lab assistant. I said he could have been as good as I am. That isn't good enough. I can find plenty of scientists as good. I couldn't have found another lab assistant to equal Lunn. You've come to report, of course. It's very late, Miss Gray, and as you can see, I'm tired. Can't it wait till tomorrow?
No. I'm tired too, but I want to finish the case tonight. Now.
Then tell me, why did my son kill himself? I take it you do have some news for me? You'd hardly have burst in here at this hour without something to report.
Your son didn't kill himself. He was murdered. He was murdered by someone he knew very well. Someone he didn't hesitate to let into the cottage. Someone who came prepared. He was strangled or suffocated, then slung up on that hook by his own belt. Last of all, his murderer painted his lips, dressed him in woman's underclothes, and spread out pictures of nudes on the table in front of him. It was meant to look like accidental death during sexual experiment. Such cases aren't so very uncommon.
And who did all this, Miss Gray?
You did. You killed your son.
What reason could I possibly have for doing such a thing?
Because he'd found out that your wife wasn't his mother. He'd realised that you defrauded your father-in-law into leaving his fortune to her and to him, and he'd no intention of accepting that legacy in 4 years' time. You were afraid he might make this knowledge public, and that if he did, if the truth came out, then that would be the end of the promised grant from the Wolvington Trust. The future of your laboratory was at stake. You couldn't take the risk.
Then who undressed him again? Who typed out that suicide note? Who washed the lipstick from his face?
That's what you must know. It's why you employed me, isn't it? You can't bear not to know. Well, I think I do know. But I shan't tell you. You forfeited the right. You killed Mark, and you prepared an alibi just in case it was needed. You got Lunn to ring you at college and announce himself as your son. He was the one person you could rely on absolutely. He didn't require explanations. He did what you told him. But you'd prepared an alibi you didn't dare use, because you didn't know precisely when Mark's body was first discovered. If someone had found him and faked that suicide before you'd claimed to have spoken to him on the phone, your alibi would have been broken, and there's nothing more damning. So you put matters right with Benskin. You told him the truth, that it was Lunn who'd rung you. You could rely on Lunn to back you up. But it wouldn't really matter, would it? Even if he did talk, no one would believe him.
No, any more than they'll believe you. You've been determined to earn your fee, Miss Gray. Your explanation is ingenious. It even has a certain plausibility. But you know, and I know, that no police officer in the world would take it seriously. It's unfortunate for you that you couldn't question Lunn. And now, Lunn's dead.
I know. I saw the crash. He tried to kill me tonight. Did you know that? And earlier he tried to scare me into dropping the case. Was that because he'd begun to suspect the truth?
If he did try to kill you, he exceeded his instructions. I simply asked him to keep an eye on you, to see I was getting value for money. And so I am, in a way. But you mustn't indulge your imagination outside this room, you know. Unproven slander will get short shrift from the police and the courts. And what proof have you? My wife was cremated, and so was Mark. There's nothing, alive or dead, on this earth to prove that he wasn't her son.
You visited Dr. Gladwin to satisfy yourself that he was too senile to give evidence against you. You needn't have worried. He never did suspect, did he? You chose him as your wife's doctor because he was old and incompetent even then.
Be sure of one thing, Miss Grey. Had I ever needed to kill, I'd have done it effectively. I wouldn't be found out. If the police ever learn the state my son was found in, and they might, since someone other than you knows, it'll only reinforce their belief that he killed himself. Mark's death was necessary, you know, and unlike most deaths, it served a purpose. And don't say that what I'm doing here isn't worth a human life. Show me that hypocrisy. You don't know and you will never understand the value of what I'm doing here. Anyway, what difference will Mark's death make to you? You'd never heard of him before you came to Garforth House. What's the matter? Are you ill?
No, I'm not ill. I knew I must be right. But I can't believe it. I can't believe a human being could be so evil.
If you're capable of imagining it, then I'm capable of doing it. Haven't you discovered that about human beings yet, Miss Grey?
You could have let him live. The money wasn't important to him. He would have understood and kept quiet.
Would he? And how could he, or I, come to that? Have explained his rejection of a great fortune in 4 years' time. People at the mercy of what they call their conscience are never safe. My son was a self-righteous prig. How could I put myself and my work in his hands?
You're in mine, Sir Ronald.
You're mistaken, Miss Grey. I'm in no one's hands. We have no witnesses.
You have one, Ronald.
Eliza, how long have you been there?
Long enough.
Eliza, don't be silly.
You killed Mark.
Eliza! Miss Grey, can't you talk to her?
You killed my son.
Your son, Miss Leeming?
Of course, Mark was my son. His son and mine. I thought you might have guessed. He was right, you know, when he said no one could touch him. There was no proof.
Then how could you kill him? How could you be so sure?
This lipstick's mine. I found it a minute ago in the pocket of his dinner jacket. He last wore it when he dined in Hall on feast night. The night he killed Mark.
But it could have been planted there. Lunn could have put it there to incriminate him.
Chris Lunn didn't kill Mark. He was in bed with me at the time Mark died.
You were in love with Chris Lunn?
Don't look at me like that. I've loved only one man in my life, and he's the one I've just killed. Talk about things you understand. Love had nothing to do with what Chris Lunn and I needed from each other. Well, what are you waiting for? Hadn't you better phone the police?
Do you want me to?
What does it matter?
Do you want the world to know how your son died and who killed him? Is that what Mark would have wanted?
No. Mark never believed in punishment.
Then we've got to work quickly.
What should we do?
First, is there anyone in the house?
No, the servants are in London. No one's working in the lab tonight.
Thank heavens for that. Now, the first thing for you to do is wash your hands thoroughly. I don't know much about firing residue, but the police may test for it. As for the rest, what you don't see, you won't have the trouble of forgetting. What were you doing when we met in the hall?
Getting myself a nightcap, a whiskey.
Then you would have met me as I came out of the study. So go and get it and leave the glass on the side table in the hall. That's the kind of detail the police are trained to notice. And be quick, we're working on borrowed time.
I'll be as quick as I can.
Go on, Cordelia. How would you shoot yourself behind the right ear? Show me. No, Cordelia. That's the little mistake Mrs. Clarendon made, and it nearly hanged her. If you kill yourself with a shot behind the right ear, you'd press the trigger with your thumb and hold the revolver with the palm round the back of the butt. It's a case I'll never forget. First murder I ever worked on with the super. Inspector Dalgliesh, as he then was. The Dalgliesh pride triumph. Mrs. Clarendon confessed in the end. Yeah, thumb on the trigger, Cordelia. Palm round the back of the butt.
Right. All done.
Now, we must act out the rest just as it would have happened. It's essential we're telling as much of the truth as possible when we're questioned. You meet me as I come out of the room. I've been with Sir Ronald for about 2 minutes, no more. You put your glass of whisky on the hall table and walk with me to the front door. You say... What would you say?
Has he paid you, Miss Gray?
No, I'm to come for my money in the morning. I'm sorry, it wasn't a success. I've told Sir Ronald I don't want to go on with the case.
That's your concern, Miss Gray. It was a foolish business in the first place. Oh, there's one thing you better know. I was the one who found Mark first and faked the suicide. He'd rung me earlier in the day and asked me to call. I couldn't get away till after 9 because of Lunn. I didn't want him to be suspicious.
But when you found Mark, didn't it occur to you there was something odd about his death? Door unlocked, no lipstick?
I suspected nothing until tonight when I heard you talking. We're all so damn sexually sophisticated these days. I believed what I saw. It was all horror, but I knew what I had to do. Do you know, typing the note was one of the worst parts. The sound of that typewriter in the quietness.
And it was the note that first put me on to you. When I first came here, you spoke the whole of the Blake quotation. The typed version was 10 words short. I first noticed that when I visited the police station. It pointed direct to you. That and the fact that you'd read English at Cambridge. We mustn't waste any more time before ringing the police. Someone may have heard the shot.
Not likely. We're some distance from the village.
Now you must walk with me to the car.
Do we hear it now?
Yes, we hear it now. What was that?
What?
It sounded like a shot.
It can't have been. Probably a car backfiring.
But there aren't any cars, Miss Leeming.
No.
And it came from the house. Come on, quickly.
I'm coming.
Through here. The study.
No, Miss Gray, let me.
But
please, Miss Gray. He shot himself. I'd better phone the police. What have you done in there? What about fingerprints?
Never mind, I've looked after that. All you have to remember is that you didn't know I had a gun when I first came to Garforth House. You didn't know Sir Ronald took it from me. You haven't seen that gun until this moment, all right?
Yes, all right.
Oh, and one thing. We mustn't talk together when the police are here. And we mustn't meet before the inquest. They'll know this can't be murder unless we two are in it together. And why should we be when we've only met once before?
But there are things you probably want to ask me. How about King's College Chapel, say the first Sunday following the inquest, after evensong? I'll be in the chancel. It'll seem natural enough for us to meet then. That is, if we're both still free.
We shall be, if we keep our heads. Now, let's ring the police.
Yes, why not? What's there to be afraid of? After all, we shall be dealing only with men. Now it's all over, I shall have to be grateful to you for the rest of my life. I'm not sure I like that. An unaccustomed humility.
Then don't feel it. I was thinking of Mark, not of you.
I thought you might have acted in the service of justice or some such abstraction.
I wasn't thinking about any abstraction. I was thinking about a person. Shall we walk down to the river?
Pregnancy isn't difficult to fake, you know. It only needs a loose corset and judicious stuffing. Evelyn found no problem in carrying through the deception. We had to get rid of that tedious fool Nanny Pilbeam, of course. Ronald was delighted. He was tired of being spoken to as if he was still the bright grammar school boy from Harrogate.
She told me Mark had a great look of his mother about him.
She would, sentimental as well as stupid. I discovered I was carrying Ronald's child at about the same time Evelyn learned she could never conceive. I wanted the baby. Ronald desperately wanted a son. Evelyn's father was obsessional about his need for a grandson and was willing to part with $500,000 to prove it. It was all so easy. We had no conscience about defrauding George Botley. He was arrogant, brutal. He even subsidized his own deceit. Cheques began arriving for Evelyn, each with a note urging her to consult the best doctors, to rest, to take a holiday in the sun. She'd always loved Italy, and Italy became part of the plan. The three of us would meet in London every few weeks and fly together to Pisa. Once in our rented villa outside Florence, I became Mrs. Callender and Evelyn became me.
But how could she? How could she bear to watch you with her husband, knowing you were going to have his child?
Because she loved Ronald and couldn't bear to lose him. Besides, she was going to have care of the child afterwards, be its mother. She convinced herself that what we were doing was best for the baby. Of course, we arranged matters so that I gave birth while we were in Italy. Then the three of us came home with the baby and a birth certificate in the right name.
And 9 months later, Mrs. Callender was dead.
He didn't kill her, if that's what you're thinking. But she should have had a specialist. Or certainly a better doctor than that incompetent fool Gladwin. The trouble was all three of us were desperately afraid that an efficient doctor would know she hadn't borne a child. She was as worried as we were. So she died and was cremated, and we thought we were safe forever.
She left Mark a note before she died. Just a hieroglyphic in her prayer book. But it was her blood group.
Yes, we knew the blood groups were a danger. Ronald had taken blood from the three of us and made the necessary tests, but after she was dead, even that worry ended. You know, the irony is that Ronald never loved the boy. He simply couldn't. And I wasn't allowed to love him either. Poor Mark. I watched him grow up, starved of affection. He must have thought I was mad, this strange, discontented woman whom his father couldn't do without, but wouldn't marry. Look, I've written out a brief confession. There's nothing in it about Mark, just that I shot Ronald Callender immediately after you'd left Garforth House. Put it somewhere safe. One day you may need it.
Nonsense.
Ronald has powerful friends. They may ask questions. Have a quiet word in the right ear. That's how they work.
The case is closed. The inquest has given its verdict. Your lover shot himself. That's all either of us need to remember, now or ever. Prize Detective Agency.
Miss Cordelia Gray?
Yes?
This is New Scotland Yard. Could you please make it convenient to call here sometime later today? Chief Superintendent Dalgliesh would like to see you.
Well, let's see how far we've got. From what you saw in the cottage, you suspected Mark Callender might have been murdered, and you told Detective Sergeant Maskell as much when you visited Cambridge Police Station. Then you traced Mrs. Callender's old nurse and learned about her marriage and the boy's early life. After that, you went to see Dr. Gladwin, the GP who looked after Mrs. Callender before she died. By a simple ruse, you found out Ronald Callender's blood group. The only point in doing that would be if you suspected Mark wasn't the child of his parents' marriage. You then did what I would have done in your place, visited Somerset House to examine Mr. George Botley's will. That was sensible. The one thing you didn't tell me about was your fall down the well. I got that from Miss Markland.
It was an accident.
I don't think so, Miss Gray. You couldn't have pulled the well cover free without a rope, and Miss Markland is positive she tripped over the rope, coiled neatly and half hidden in the undergrowth.
I don't recall any details. The first thing I remember is hitting the water. In any case, I can't see what this has to do with Sir Ronald Callender's death.
It might have a great deal to do with it. If someone tried to kill you, and I think they did, it was because you and your investigation had become a danger. You were getting too close. Someone replaced that well lid, Miss Gray. You didn't fall through solid wood.
No.
Miss Markland told me that after she rescued you, you insisted she went away. You told her you weren't afraid to be alone in the cottage because you had a gun.
I wanted to get rid of her. She told me some dreadful story about her illegitimate child falling down the well to his death. I didn't want to hear it. I couldn't bear to just then. I told a lie about the gun just to make her go.
I think you wanted her to go because you knew your assailant would return, would have to drag the well cover clear. And what's more, Miss Gray, I don't think you would have waited alone in that cottage for your murderer without your gun.
I'd left the gun with Sir Ronald that first day.
I think Chris Lunn paid you a visit on the night he died. I can find no other reason for him being on that road. One of the witnesses to the accident said he came out of that side turning as if all the devils in hell were after him. Someone was after him, Miss Gray. You.
I was on my way to Sir Ronald.
At that hour? And in such a hurry?
I wanted to see him urgently. I decided to drop the case. I wanted to tell him at once and get it over and done with.
I wonder. Have you thought of consulting a solicitor, Miss Gray?
Why should I need a solicitor when I'm telling the truth?
It's when people start telling the truth that they most often feel the need of one.
Superintendent Dalgliesh, I have always told the truth. Why should I lie?
Well, it could be to protect yourself, which I don't think likely, or to protect someone else. The motive for that could be love, fear, or a sense of justice. I don't think you've known anyone in this case long enough to care for them deeply, so that rules out love. And I don't think you'd be very easy to frighten, so we're left with justice. A very dangerous concept, Miss Gray. Well, thank you, Sergeant. This concerns someone you know, Miss Gray. Elizabeth Leeming is dead. She was killed 2 days ago. The car she was driving went off the coast road south of Amalfi. This note is confirmation of identity.
May I go home now?
Yes. I don't think there's much point in your staying now, do you?
She didn't kill Sir Ronald. He took the gun from me. He took the gun...
That's what you've been telling me. I don't think you need trouble to say it again.
Do I have to come back?
Not unless you decide there's something you want to tell me. In that well-known phrase, you were asked to help the police. You have helped the police. Thank you. Come on, Miss Gray. Can you use my handkerchief?
And after you'd sacked him, you never asked how he got on. Not once. You didn't even come to the funeral.
I'm sorry. It's rather worse than that, I'm afraid. I know now your partner was the Bernie Pride who once worked with me. But the truth is, I'd forgotten all about him.
You sacked him. All he ever wanted was to be a detective, and you wouldn't give him a chance.
Well, actually, the Metropolitan Police hiring and firing regulations aren't quite as simple as that. It's true he might still have been a policeman if it hadn't been for me, but he wouldn't have been a detective.
He wasn't that bad.
Well, he was, you know. Or at least I thought so then. But I'm beginning to wonder if I didn't underrate him.
Mr. Dalgliesh, he'd have given his right arm to hear you say that.
If I understand you aright, Adam, you suspect that Ronald Callender killed his son. Ronald Callender is dead. You suspect that Chris Lunn tried to murder Miss Gray. Lunn is dead. You suggest that Elizabeth Leeming killed Ronald Callender. Elizabeth Leeming is dead.
Yes, it's all conveniently tidy.
Then I suggest we leave it that way.
There's only one person alive who knows the truth, and she's proof against any interrogation we can use. I comfort myself with the thought that she's absolutely guiltless. I took to her, but I'm glad I shan't be dealing with her again. I dislike being made to feel I'm corrupting the young. And she's right, you know. I ought to have found out what happened to Bernie Pride.
That wasn't part of your duties?
Of course not. But it was a dereliction all the same. It's ironic, you know. But in the end, Bernie Pride's taken his revenge.
How do you mean?
Well, whatever mischief that child was up to in Cambridge, she was working under his influence. He might just as well have been with her.
I agree, but answer this. If she was so influenced by Bernie Pride, then who was the moving force in his life? Who did Bernie Pride take as his model?
So it's all my fault?
Probably. She's your acolyte, Adam. If you never discover what really happened in Garforth House that night, you've probably only yourself to blame. No wonder you took to the young lady.
Well, it's good to be able to feel occasionally that there are some cases better left unsolved.
In An Unsuitable Job for a Woman, by P.D.James, dramatised by Neville Teller, Judy Barker played Cordelia Gray, Anna Massey, Miss Leeming, Robert Lang, Sir Ronald, and Maxine Audley, Eleanor Markland. The coroner was played by James Green, Bernie Pride by Michael Turner, Mrs. Markland and Mrs. Gladwin, Elizabeth Kelly, Major Markland, Ian Lindsay, Hugo, Andrew Branch, Sophie, Joanna Myers, Davy, David Bannerman, Isabel, Edita Brichter, Sergeant Marshall, Nigel Carrington, Horsefall, Brett Usher, Nanny Pilbeam, Barbara Atkinson, Mr. Botley and the Police Commissioner, Timothy Bateson, Miss Sparshot, Jenny Howe, and Adam Dalgliesh by Timothy Compton. The play was directed by Matthew Walters.